Good morning, everybody. Welcome on in. This is Let's Bet It. I am Jared Smith, joined today by Bobby Stanley. Exciting show planned for you today as we welcome in Pickswise Nation. Sadly, Brian Scalabrine is not going to be joining us on this show. We had a bit of a scheduling conflict, and he was unable to attend. But, big but, still very exciting stuff planned for you today. So let's bring in Prop Holiday. Bobby Stanley joining us now for the second time. Bobby, I guess good morning to you first. Secondly, goodness gracious, what a fourth quarter we had last night in the NBA Finals as Boston takes a 1-0 lead. We'll have a full recap coming up later, but your just initial thoughts on what we saw last night from Game 1.
Well, first off, good morning. Happy Friday. What's going on, man?
Good morning.
Initial thoughts. Looking at Boston, I didn't have them taking Game 1. I did think it was going to be close, but for what they did in the fourth quarter, outscoring the Golden State Warriors 40-16. I mean, it was unbelievable. I think we're set up for a very good series. I hope it still goes 6 or 7, but initial thoughts, looking at the mismatches from Celtics and Golden State, it may not get that far. But I don't want to overreact to Game 1 too early. But no, it was awesome, man. Awesome Game 1.
Yeah, we play Overreaction Monday during the NFL season, maybe a little Overreaction Friday. As we do recap Game 1, we'll have a full preview as much as we can. It's 3 days away, right? We have plenty of time before Game 2. But we will get into what we saw last night a little deeper, and we will dive into some numbers and see how things have shifted. Also on today's show, obviously, we're going to do Better Up. We'll get to that in just a moment. NHL Ice Picks as well. We had Game 2 in Denver last night, a very, I would say, boring game compared to what we saw in Game 1. And we'll have Game 2 Rangers Lightning tonight, some picks and some leans for that as well. Also, we're going to be talking lacrosse today. I know that's not something you hear very often amongst any gambling show, period. But we do have Premier League lacrosse starting up, and we've got some futures picks. Even Bobby, you were up at what, 4 a.m. doing research on lacrosse picks this morning?
I have never played lacrosse in my life. I'm getting myself familiar with it, but if you can bet on it, I have interest in it. So as someone who loves player props, I have a player prop for opening week Premier League lacrosse.
Look
that
at
I feel
that.
Really good about, surprisingly.
Opening week of the PLL, and Prop Holiday has got himself a prop for the Premier League lacrosse. Exciting stuff. We'll also have our play of the days. I saw Keith Schmelter, who's our 3-star baseball specialist, drop the 3-star on the site. We'll get to that later in the show as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our morning newsletter, Wise and Shine, free. I write for it every morning. I give my MLB picks. So if you want to get a jump on what you're going to see on the show, I drop some nuggets for you in baseball every morning on Wise and Shine. Also, plenty of other people behind the scenes working. There is an email link in the YouTube stream description. If you would like to sign up, I recommend it. It is free. So I promise you won't pay a dime for it unless you want to give us money. And then you can, I don't know, Bobby, do you have any funds, any charities that you'd like to raise money for the Wise? We'll call it the Wise and Shine Fund. I know you got a kid on the way, maybe a baby shower, right?
Yeah, no, we need everything. We need crib. It's called a glider, which is something you sit in.
Yeah, right.
Diapers. Formulas in a shortage. I'll take whatever I can get.
Oh, that's right. The formula shortage. Oh, you're probably stressed out about that these days, right? I don't know what it is, but I'd be stressed out about it if I was having a kid.
I'm hoping in 4 months from now, when my son's on his way, I don't have to sweat it. But for right now, I hear Walgreens and CVS are bare bones.
Congratulations to the Prop Holiday family, expecting a baby boy coming up in just a few months. All right, without further ado, let's bet it. We start with NRFI or YRFI, and what else can I say about this segment? The data is proving itself. We're 2 months into the season, and we are a flat 382 and 382 on NRFIs and YRFIs this year. I cannot make that number up. I promise you. Yesterday went 6-6. There is no advantage right now. Obviously, the juice is skewed in the direction that's favoring the sports books, and it is obvious to me that the YRFI is juiced less, so it's down a little bit less. But both sides are down. This is the second straight day we've been on 50%. We'll see if we can break that 50% trend. Excuse me. Today, some streaks to talk about: Atlanta 5 straight YRFIs. San Francisco 5 straight NRFIs. How about the Tigers? We've talked about the Tigers being a real shitty first inning run scoring team. Well, they've scored 3 out of their last 4, and they've had 4 straight YRFIs. So again, a lot of times with these random stats, and this is scoring in the first inning is very random. You get positive regression, you get negative regression. You're an experienced gambler. Do you like betting these? Have you bet these before? For someone that maybe doesn't bet these a lot, what would be your interest level in it? Because we've talked about them a lot this year.
So I would say, I'll bet on anything. My love, my passion is NFL and NBA. But when I'm looking at the sport of baseball, I want my action right away. So just the fact that something can resolve as soon as the first inning is the interest to me as a casual MLB bettor. I always love action. I always love over. So I would probably go yes more than no. But I would say if you're not an MLB fan, there's too many games, the game is slow enough as it is, you sell me. How would you sell me on the casual bettor picking a yes or no in the first inning? Are you talking about pitching matchups? Are you talking about over-under totals? Because if I'm looking at MLB and I say, all right, over-under set at 8.5, 9, I think that's going to be a little bit higher scoring of a matchup. You got your pitcher. He's obviously as fresh as he's going to be in the first inning. How would you sway someone who is the casual MLB fan on a yes or no first run in the inning?
It's a great question. I think so. The reason why these have become so popular is the immediacy of it. We live in an instant gratification society. Nope. I always get scoffed at. My futures articles, my futures bets never do as well as the YRFI NRFIs do. Like, it's just, we live in an era of we want the results right now. And I have literally won and lost these bets on the first pitch of the game before. Which is, I won a YRFI last week. It was on like the 4th pitch of the game. Someone hit a home run. So again, the immediacy, the gratification is the recreational angle. Now let's talk about the analytical angle. When I am handicapping baseball today, I want nothing to do with the bullpens. Multiple reasons why. One, no one has the time to go through every team's bullpen and look at who pitched yesterday, who is available, and also the trends of every manager and how they use their bullpens. It could be they've got a road trip coming up here and they don't want to use this guy. There's too many variables. There's too many bullpen pitchers to actually wrap your head around how a team is going to use the bullpen on any given night. So my handicap with starting pitchers is isolate and eliminate the bullpens. Isolate the starting pitchers, eliminate the bullpens. In the first inning, that is the ultimate starting pitcher handicap. There are stats that are driven off of how well pitchers are in the first inning of games, their walk percentages, do they have good control in the first inning? So that's the analytical approach. And then there's the recreational, your bet's done in 15 minutes. You don't have to sit and watch a 3.5-hour baseball game. So there really are 2 ways to come at it. And that's how I feel about it. And I've been betting these for years. They've recently become popular. But I've been betting on the NRFI for years. Recently, now that I've done the research, I prefer more YRFIs because it does look like these are more 50-50 and the yeses are kind of juiced more in my favor, if that tickles the fancy.
Is there any seasonality to it? We're still very early in the MLB season. Do we have, I don't know if we have the overview on it, but to say, okay, first 2 months, we're seeing lower scoring first innings versus, you start getting in the dog days of summer. It's a little bit, more humid, whatever the conditions may be for baseball. I still got to get my knowledge up.
Good question.
But is there any seasonality to a NRFI or a YRFI where early on in the season, these guys are as fresh as they're going to be? The hitters are not in as much of a rhythm as they're going to be. I'd be curious if there's any trend to that, where we are in the season for yes or no in the first inning.
Tremendous follow-up question. I think the answer is I don't know, but
I didn't expect.
I'm the asshole that's tracking all 2,430 games. So I will have to add. Maybe I can go back to. I don't want to be able to go back to April, but I probably can backdate June and do April, May, and then I'll do June, July, and then I'll do August, September, and then we'll see. Three checkpoints, 2 months each. If there is a bit of a dip or pop in the summer months, that I listen, that's why we collect the data. So we have these answers for you. I don't have them now, but I'd be very curious about them in the future. Another one of my theories is the NRFI will be profitable at Coors Field this year. And that goes against what we would normally think, which would be overruns, yes runs in mile high altitude. But the books know that too. And they, just like they juice the no in non-Coors Field games to where you're paying a bad price for the no, because the common misconception is more runs or less runs happen in the first inning than you would think, but actually it's more. So the no to me is the sharper side at Coors. 17-12 to the yes this year at Coors, but it's negative units. How about that? So I'm going to do Braves, Rockies, no run first inning, plus 125 at Coors Field. Max Fried, Chad Kuhl is your pitching matchup tonight. Fried is 3-0 on the road this year to his NRFI and a sub 3% walk rate in the first inning. And a glimpse into my strategy, if you don't walk a lot of batters in the first inning, it tells me that your control early in games is good. And that is good thing for the no. Solid numbers against this Rockies lineup. Chad Kuhl on the other side is the part I'm worried about. 5-4 to the NRFI this year, 1-2 at home. So he's had 3 home starts. He's given up a run in 2 of them. And he's got a walk rate of over 12% and a 6.5 FIP. But he's coming off a really good start against the Nats. 2 earned runs, 7 Ks, 6 2/3. And the Braves scored 13 runs last night. So I'm hoping that first inning today, we get just a hair of negative regression. If we can get Chad Kuhl through the first inning, I feel confident Max Fried will get through the bottom of the first, and then we'll get our NRFI home at plus 125. Any baseball plays for you tonight, sir? I do see one of them on your sheet, and it's a K prop. Of course, it's a prop.
I'm a player prop guy. What can I say? Yeah, so I don't do MLB as much, but I did put a significant amount of time and effort in this. We talked about it earlier. Up at 6 a.m., crunching numbers on MLB. I'm on pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, Alex Cobb, over 5.5 Ks. It's plus 104. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5 starts. Now he gets a Miami Marlins team. They've only played 49 games this season. If you adjust that to the 52 game mark, they're top 6 the league in strikeouts for their batters. Now they're averaging about 9 strikeouts per game. And we have to go back to 2 years ago when he last played the Miami Marlins. He had 7 Ks in that game. It is 2020 though, so take it with a grain of salt. Something that stood out to me, in 3 of 4 wins that he's pitched, he's hit this number. And he's also hit this on 4 days rest. So both times he had 4 days rest, he's hit this number. I love anything at plus odds. The kicker for me, he's a Massachusetts guy. He's riding high off the Celtics win last night. So I got Alex Cobb over 5.5 Ks at plus 104. How could you not sprinkle it? He's in a good mood. How could you not be in a good mood after last night in the Celtics? So over 5.5 Ks at plus 104. Go half a unit on this. I'm still getting my feet wet with MLB, but I do feel pretty good about this, knowing what we know historically and how they perform in wins.
See, I think you should go full unit, because when I was so I saw this in the spreadsheet this morning, and then I did a little independent confirmation research on Alex Cobb. He's gone over this number in 4 of his last 5. He's been spicy over the last 5 starts. And he's a guy that has plus stuff. So I have no issue with a K prop at plus money like that. And I fully endorse it for a full unit, bud. Go lean into it. And I love the Massachusetts angle. That's great stuff. All right. We all know the walk prop. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm doing my research. I'm looking at this guy. I'm getting redheaded white guy. Where's he from? Boston. All right, locked, sold. After last night, we're going all in on
I
Cobb
love it.
over 5.5.
Love it. All right, so I'm going back into the walk markets again. I've been loving these markets. I think so. There's two reasons why I love these markets. The first one, obviously, there's less. You only need 2 walks most days to win instead of 5, 6, 7 strikeouts. So you need less events to take place. Obviously, the likelihood of those events occurring are a little bit more infrequent than a strikeout. But I feel like there's a little bit less variance with the walks than the strikeouts, slightly less. And then you throw into the waters that everyone is betting K props right now, and I feel like there's a little less competition for good numbers in the walk market. So we're gonna keep swimming here until I drown, and maybe we'll come back to the K prop markets. But I'll give you the first one. Actually, this is a day game, so I'll give you this one first, and I'm on both sides of this one. So Cardinals Cubs, Miles Michaelis over 1.5 plus 120. And Marcus Stroman over 1.5, also plus 120. I got both of these over at Bet365. I think DraftKings has slightly less numbers, but you can play them there as well. So Michaelis, this is kind of a buy low spot for Michaelis. He's having a really good year. He's a top 20 ERA pitcher, but he doesn't have ERA, or he doesn't have overwhelming stuff. K percentage, 31st, whip percentage, 6th. He's not a blow you away type of pitcher. He has good control. 85th percentile in walk rate this year, and he's only gone over 1.5 walks in 3 out of 10 starts this season and 6 of his last 18. So you're like, Jared, what are you talking about? Why are you betting a walks prop for a guy that's only gone over 3 out of 10 times this year? Well, this is a Cubs lineup that has the second highest walk rate in Major League Baseball over the last week at over 11%, and 4th highest this year against righties at nearly 10%. Then you throw into the mix that Matthew Liberatore yesterday only went 2 2/3 innings for the Cardinals. So I could see them pushing Michaelis an inning past maybe where he normally would go. And that extra runway for him, I think, gets us over 1.5. And then on the other side for Stroman, higher career walks per 9 in day games than night games. This is an afternoon game at Wrigley. And almost double Ks per 9 or walks per 9 at Wrigley this year. 3.1 walks per 9 at home. On the road, 1.8. Something about Wrigley, just, I don't know if it's the mound, the stands, I don't know. But a little more wild at Wrigley Field than he is away from home this year. 50% hit rate for Stroman over 1.5. I'm getting plus 120. Coin flip, I'll take the plus money odds. And Cardinals are an average walk rate team. So, again, it's more about Stroman than it is this Cardinals lineup. Also, I'm going to go Merrill Kelly over 1.5 walks. Got this at even odds over at DraftKings. Very average stuff for Merrill Kelly. Highest walk rate of his career at almost 9%. He's gone over this in 8 of 9 starts this season. And Pittsburgh has the 8th highest walk rate against righties at just over 9%. So Kelly, Michaelis, Stroman, all over 1.5, all at even odds or better. Would love to sweep the board, but 2-1 obviously is going to be a good day. And then I'll give you a couple half unit sprinkles just for shits and giggles here. We're going to go Bruce Zimmerman over 1.5 walks at plus 160. He's going against a team in Cleveland that has the 6th highest walk rate over the last week. And his walks per 9 are higher at home than they are on the road. And then I'll give you we're going to have some fun with this one, the walk this way parlay. Are you an Aerosmith fan? Run DMC? Is that
Yes,
part of your?
Of course.
Yeah.
Born in 89, man. You got me. You're in my wheelhouse right now.
Love it. Walk this way. All right. So the walk this way parlay, because it's like soccer, the over and the unders can be juiced really high because it's a 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5 bet. So one walk is 33% of a 2.5. It's 50% of a 1.5. So it's going to move the odds significantly. So some of these bets are juiced so high, minus 200, minus 250. You can't bet them solo. I don't see value in betting them solo. So we throw a little parlay together and sprinkle a little half unit on it. Kikuchi over 1.5, Velasquez over 1.5, Musgrove over 1.5, Anderson over 0.5. Hopefully the first 3 hit, and then we get the late game, 10 o'clock Eastern, for Tyler Anderson, who just needs 1 walk for us to hit. Again, it's not a very analytical bet. It probably loses, but it's Friday night. Let's have a little fun. The first ever walk this way parlay. Again, I'll give it to you one more time. Yeah, there you go. I like it. There you go. Walk this way. Kikuchi, Velasquez, Musgrove, Anderson. Walk this way, baby. All right, move on to NBA because God knows we've talked way too much baseball already today on this show. We talked a little bit about it off the top, Bobby, but I think when you look at that game last night, you give Boston credit. They did what they had to do. I'm assuming the effort level maybe relaxes a little bit in game 2, knowing they already got one in Golden State. But Boston covers. They win outright. How about this stat? And give me your thoughts on this. 23 consecutive NBA playoff winners have covered the spread. It's wild. If you think a team is going to win the game, just bet them on the money line if they're the underdog, because if the underdog covers, they're going to win. What was your thought last night about what Boston did in the fourth quarter?
I mean, we mentioned it, like you said, at the top, 40-16 in the fourth quarter. And I think a light bulb really went off for Udoka. He staggered the minutes of Horford and Robert Williams. So when we saw Golden State go on a lot of their runs, it was when Robert Williams and Al Horford were on the floor. They didn't really have the ability to switch, and Steph got going. Finally, in the fourth quarter of that game, they split up Robert Williams and Horford, and the Celtics took off. I think we're going to see a change in game 2 where maybe Robert Williams doesn't start, maybe he comes off the bench, or maybe vice versa with Al Horford. I do think you have to split up those two guys, but they started to figure it out as the game went on, how they're going to match up as best they can with this Warriors team. Something that stood out to me, I mean, Wiggins had a great game, 20 points, played well defensively, with a little bit more on Jaylen Brown than I was expecting than Jason Tatum. But when I was looking at the game, Derek White, you're not going to replicate a Derek White game. Derek White's probably not going to go off for 20 points again in the rest of the series. Horford went off, but are we going to get Jason Tatum to really show up? Lost confidence in his shot, I would say, midway through the game, became more of a distributor. But curious to see how he responds through the rest of the series. Now he's favorite for the Finals MVP at plus 130. So what I would say, what did you take away from the game, at least from first half to second half? Because it was night and day from what I saw.
I think Boston's the better team top to bottom. I do, and I thought that going in. I think Golden State has more explosive players. Boston's going to need more. I mean, if the fact that they won that game, and I know Horford had a big game offensively. I don't think we're going to see 26 from him many nights. But the fact that Boston won that game and Jason Tatum shot 3 for 17, that does not bode well for Golden State. That is not a good. And again, I know Horford had a plus game offensively, but Tatum's minus game was way more minus than Horford's plus in terms of his averages. So I'm very concerned if I was a Golden State fan that Jason Tatum hasn't even played well yet, and we just got waxed off the floor in the fourth quarter. That would concern me. That would concern me if I was a Warriors fan, or better.
Look, I mean, Steph played out of his mind. 21 in the first quarter, finishes with 34. So I think when we saw those changes, it kind of cooled them off. Who's going to be the second scorer for Golden State? Are you gonna trust Andrew Wiggins to have 20 every game?
No.
I personally don't. So you're looking at Klay Thompson, you're looking at Jordan Poole. I hate saying this. I do not think we get the Klay. I think Klay Thompson is a shell of himself. Cannot finish at the rim. Cannot create his own shot. He's been relegated to catch and shoots, coming off screens, and he's been good in this role. He had 14 points last night, or it might have been 15 points. Over 40% from the field, 15. Over 40% from three. He played well in his game. But who's going to be that guy stepping up second to Steph Curry against this strong defensive team, the Celtics? I don't see it. Maybe it's Jordan Poole. It may have to be. He only had 25 minutes. Maybe get him closer to that 30 mark. But I'm wondering, where are these points coming from for this Warriors team in game 2? There's going to have to be a shift, because you're not getting 21 points every first quarter from Steph to start things off. Yeah.
So JVT, Jonathan Von Tobel, came on the show yesterday and gave out Celtics in 5. I wish I got a slice of that, because that I do think that would be the way that I would play it right now.
Celtics in 5. If you truly believe that, you're getting it at plus 490, almost 5-1. So there's still tons of value in Celtics in 5.
Yeah, it's less. I think I would rather wait and Golden State wins game 2, and then that number probably gets back to a more reasonable output. Because I do, and again, that's a good place to put it. By the way, I agree with your Clay take. I bet him pre-flop under 20.1 points per game in the series. I think I showed you that. Yes, I think I sent that to you yesterday.
Yeah. We talked about it yesterday.
That was the biggest pre-flop bet I made on this series, a unit. And then I put a half unit on the Tatum rebounds and then another half unit on Marcus Smart to be the MVP. Let's pivot a little bit to the MVP markets.
Sure.
Tatum, this is also at DraftKings. Tatum down to plus 125, which is still pretty high, I think, for a guy that didn't play well last night. Curry at plus 165. Jaylen Brown at basically 5-1. Horford's the big mover, down to 14-1. Marcus Smart down to 18-1. Two questions for you. A, is this the time to take Curry plus 165? By the way, the Warriors are plus 160 to win the series, which, I mean, that's basically the same bet. Or B, is there another player on Golden State, which I wouldn't pick anyone, but is there anyone else on Golden State that can win this award, or is this Curry or bust, really?
I would say it's Curry or bust. If you do believe in the Warriors winning this series, it's already been baked in before the series even started. The talk around the national media has been, is Steph Curry going to finally check that box and add Finals MVP to his resume? You know, Stephen A. Smith is he going to get close to LeBron once he gets a Finals MVP? I'm not buying any of that. If you do want some value just for the sheer hell of it, Andrew Wiggins has played very, very well. He played very, very well in Game 1.
Yes.
He played very well in the Mavericks series. Matched up more on Jaylen Brown than Jason Tatum than I expected. Tatum actually got a lot more. He got a lot more matchups that he wanted. Steph Curry on a switch, Jordan Poole on a switch. Didn't do much with it. I was actually expecting Wiggins on the other way. If you want some value on a Warriors MVP, I would say Wiggins. Because like we said, Clay may go off one game for 25, but from what I see, he against this Celtics team, I don't see him averaging 20, averaging 25 and saving it. He's kind of a shell of himself, as sad as that sounds. So to answer your question, some value, I would go Wiggins. I actually wouldn't bet any MVP on the Warriors at all.
Yeah, I think I would rather, like we were talking about this pre-show, like if you were going to ask me, do I want to bet the Warriors at plus 160 to win the series? And by the way, I haven't checked every book. There might be a better price than plus 160 available somewhere. But let's say you only had one option: bet the Warriors at plus 160, or bet Steph Curry at plus 165. I would just take the plus 160 because the 5 cents extra. We're not betting that much. For me, it would be $5. Yeah. On the off chance that, lightning strikes, COVID, injury, anything, that Steph Curry does not win the MVP. I mean, again, 99 times out of 100, he's probably going to win the MVP if the Warriors win. But 5 cents to me is not worth that one time. It's just not. It's not enough juice for me to not just bet the Warriors to win the series. So if you were going to ask me how I would play the MVP market today, I wouldn't. I would just bet the Warriors to win the series. And again, I would try to find a better price than plus 160. It might be out there for you. You just have to look. All right, game 2. You're already on Clay. Did you lock in Clay already? I mean, the Warriors are laying 4, I'm seeing. Basically the same price as game 1. How would you look at game 2? I mean, we have 3 days. The game's not till Sunday. So what's your thoughts there? The total's gone up a little bit. Is there value on the under now? Like, what's your zigzag approach here as we get ready for game 2 on Sunday?
I definitely see some value on the under. And looking at a first half stat, 23 pointers made in the first half is the most in finals history. So I do not see that being replicated again. Defensively, I already talked about the adjustments that I think the Celtics should make. Even though they won, there still is an adjustment to make, and it's really staggering that Horford and Robert Williams minutes and going completely small. Derek White obviously gets the praise for game 1, but Grant Williams, I think, could be valuable in this starting lineup and taking Robert Williams out of the starting lineup. Still played very well, protecting the rim. I think he had 3 or 4 block shots coming out on the perimeter, but I would just stagger those two as changes. You mentioned Klay Thompson. His line went, I think it opened up, 20.5 for game 1, or was it 19.5 for game 1?
Clay was 20 because I think, I feel great. I already have a point of equity already on it because now it's down to 19.5, and I can keep playing. If I want to come off of my series average, I can play the over and I still could hit. But yeah, it was 20 in game one.
So I, talking about a prop, I have to do a prop. It's down to 19.5 for game two. I do like the under again because, like we said, he actually played a decent game in game one, and he didn't even sniff this number. So I do not see him being able to, again, finish at the rim. He's going to get hot one game this series. He's going to have his 25, 27. He'll go 6 of 11 from 3, and we'll go, wow, Clay's back. But I'm only banking on that for one game. I don't think it's going to be in game two. So as long as I can keep him under 20 points, I feel confident. It's gonna have to be someone else that steps up for this Warriors team. Maybe Jordan Poole. Maybe we do get another big Wiggins game. I just don't see the athleticism, the burst, the ability to create that he had. And this is not the team to find that against. Definitely not this Celtics team.
By the way, we had some breaking news come across the desk. I'll mention this. Joe Girardi is out as the Phillies manager. Again, I don't know.
Former Yankee skipper, right?
Former Yankees manager. He's now a former Phillies manager. I was looking because I always like to bet on teams the day after they fire, or I don't know if it was a firing, but maybe it was mutual firing. But they took the Phillies line down off the board. So they're facing the Angels tonight. It's an interleague game, but the line is locked after this news. So if you did bet the Phillies game tonight, keep an eye on that. And if you want to bet them, I would probably bet the Phillies tonight. My guess is they win after they fire their manager. Also, question in the chat. Back to NBA. Sorry for that little breaking news cut in. Back to my news anchor days. Question in the chat. Thank you, Justin. Any value in Jaylen Brown to win the Finals MVP? Plus 550. He had a good game last night. What do you think?
I saw it at 7-1 actually on FanDuel for Jaylen Brown. He did have a good game last night. I mean, the hype is around Jason Tatum. He still had 13 assists, which is a decent number, but Jaylen Brown has the ability to, especially if he's getting Klay Thompson defensively, I think to explode a couple games. At 7-1, you mentioned 5-1. There's value there. There's without a doubt value there. We all agree. I think the Celtics are going to win the series. So now you've already cut the field in half, and I'm getting the second best player on that championship team at 7-1. So there's value.
I don't hate it. Again, the MVP market, our friend Alex Gliz got us onto Marcus Smart pretty early. I'm holding a 45-1 ticket. I feel great about that. If the Celtics win the series, I feel like I'll have a chance to come off of it later in the series in some way because of the price. Jaylen Brown might be that guy. Let's leave it at this. We're selling Horford. We're not buying Horford spike. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think he does. I don't think he's going to be the media darling that he's not going to get the attention that a Smart or a Brown or a Tatum would get if they continue to play well. If the Celtics win the series, one of those three guys is going to win MVP. Now we just have to figure out who that guy is. We're feeling good about Marcus Smart right now. Maybe Jaylen Brown, we come off of him. Maybe not. I don't know. Are you making any MVP bets before game two?
Just to touch again on Marcus Smart, he doesn't have to just go off. Like he had two huge threes in the fourth quarter last night. If he can hold Steph Curry to under 20 points in a game, that's a notch in his belt for an MVP. So you got a ticket at 45-1. I'm jealous, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, just to hold the Warriors to under 110 again, and 16 in the third. I mean, 16 in the fourth. I mean, again, if you're holding Golden State to under 110 in this convincingly and consistently in this series, Celtics are going to win this series. I don't think I'm going to bet game two spread. I think the Warriors probably win. And how about this? In the NBA Finals, if the line is 6 or less, which is what it will be on Sunday, the winner of the game is 63-0-1 against the number since 2014. I mean, it just stop worrying about the spread being too big. We hear this all the time in gambling media. Oh, the spread's too big. It's not. If the team wins the game, they're going to cover. In the finals, it hasn't happened since 2013. A spread less than 6. A team winning and not covering. It hasn't happened in 7 years. Could it happen on Sunday? Sure.
If you're on the Celtics sweep, Take the money line. But the Warriors
Just
minus
bet the
four and
money
a half.
line.
If you
think the Celtics are the better team after what you saw last night, and you think they're going to cover in game 2, just bet the money line. In the long run, you will finish better off. All right, let's move on to NHL. Man, oh man, last night was the opposite of what everyone expected. A goalie making, I think, his third career playoff start shut out the Edmonton Oilers. Colorado wins 4-0. Obviously, the game stays under. Yeah, right. Obviously, the game stays under the astronomical total of 7.5. By the way, the under is now 12-1 in the last, I think it was 3 seasons when the total is 7.5 or higher. So take that for what you will. Any thoughts on what you saw last night, Colorado and Edmonton, before we get into tonight's game?
Bit of a statement game. I mean, coming off a 8-6 game 1, it goes down to 4-0. They held the big 3 of Edmonton. So McDavid, Kane, and Draisaitl to only 7 shots. You already mentioned the backup goalie post a shutout. So complete flip on that side. They haven't determined if Francouz will take over the starting goaling spot from Mike Smith. So I thought it was a statement game. As a casual NHL fan, I want to see McDavid and the Rangers. Unfortunately, I think the Avalanche are coming out of this series on top. Looking forward, and I don't want to project too much forward, but the only knock you could say about the Avalanche is have they faced an elite goalie yet in the playoffs? Because they will next round no matter what.
Agreed. I agree. The Avs are going to go to the finals. Good for them. They deserve it. They've been the better team throughout most of the last 2 or 3 seasons, but they've just tightened up. I still might bet Edmonton in game 3. They're probably going to be a dog. I haven't looked yet. I'm more concerned with tonight's game, which is the trend of all trends, Bobby. 17 straight wins for the Lightning off a playoff loss in the last 3 postseasons. Here you go. They're averaging in those 17-0 off a loss in the last 3 postseasons. In those 17 games, they're averaging almost 4 goals per game. Vasilevsky's a 1.47 goals against with 5 shutouts. So in what universe do we not just close our eyes, make a wish, and bet the Lightning tonight, as painful as it is going against my Rangers? I don't understand how we don't just hammer Tampa Bay.
I mean, me and you are East Coast guys. The universe we would live in to not bet this is to be Rangers fans. But if you're trying to be completely unbiased and objective, you have to take the Lightning tonight. I completely agree. Really quickly though, for the Avalanche, before you jump on the Edmonton Oilers for Game 3, the Avs are 5-0 on the road this postseason. So just throwing that out there. Avs 5-0 on the road.
Keep that in my back pocket for tomorrow.
To focus on this Lightning Rangers game, I do think minus 134, great value for a team that I do expect to pull off the win and get 1-1. And I do have a player prop that I'm actually on the Rangers side, and it is at plus money. Still think the Lightning win and pull this off. But second line center Ryan Strome to notch a point at plus 104. He didn't have a point in game 1. Prior to game 1, he had a point in 9 of 14 postseason games. What he did have going for him in game 1, tied for third on the team with most individual Corsi 4 events. So positive things were happening with him on the ice. Third most offensive zone starts. They get in the offensive zone. Strome is getting out on the ice. So I like him being in positions to score. And he still managed 3 shots on goal in game 1. So he is active despite not getting a point in game 1. I like him to get a point in game 2. And I like plus odds for any second line center. So Ryan Strome over half a point at plus 104 for the Rangers. Even though I agree with you, I think Tampa Bay takes it.
Great stuff. I'm sure we'll get to that play a little later during our play of the day segment. Wink, wink. Final thoughts for me, Tampa Bay and New York. The Rangers are 4-0 against the Lightning this year.
I saw the regular season stuff.
I'm
pulling for him.
Yeah, I'm not pulling for him because I think I'm going to bet Tampa Bay, sadly. But it is interesting to note that they are 4-0 against the Lightning this year. Another thing that is of note, and again, when I do these little nuggets, it's not like, oh, I'm going to bet it immediately. These are just if the pick is a stew, like, one of the ramen noodle bowls that I get across the street, these nuggets are just ingredients that go into the stew. and then it has to cook, it has to marinate, and then we come up with a final thought and a final pick. But the head coach of the Rangers, Gallant, was asked about the streak, obviously, after the game, after the win. He's, one of the reporters say, hey, Tampa Bay's won 17 straight off a loss. How do you feel about that? And his response was classic. I have to mention it. It was, quote, they didn't beat us 17 times. Love that attitude. If you're not familiar with Gerard Gallant, he's kind of an old school hockey coach. Like he's on the sidelines. His suits doesn't really fit quite right. He's not a guy that usually dresses up in formal wear, probably in his off the ice time. And he's kind of a rough around the edges kind of guy. I thought that was a great quote. And I think the Rangers will be game for this, but this is what Tampa does. And let's be honest, if the Rangers win this game tonight, they're going to win the series, right? I mean, it's fair to say this is kind of a pivotal game. I know Game 3 probably will matter more because home ice matters more, but no one expected the Rangers to take the first 2 games at home in this series. Nobody.
No. I didn't think they were going to get Game 1. I was blown away that they got Game 1. I think I hit a player prop for the what was the team? I'm sorry, for the Tampa Bay's goalie to have over 26.5 saves. What do you see for the over-under tonight? Do you have any lean in this game over-under at 5.5?
I have so we can have some fun. I'm not playing the full game total because I don't trust the empty nets at the end, but I have a fun little would you rather. And I've asked a couple people this and I get mixed responses. So would you rather bet the first period under, which our friend Mark Zinno has been doing this a lot this year and he's had some success with the Rangers for sure, and the price is kind of the same, minus 120 for the first period under 1.5, or no goal in the first 10 minutes at even odds. Like you're kind of sweating bullets in both, but you're probably sweating a little more in the no goal first 10 minutes because you don't get any margin for error. How would you would you rather play one or the other?
With these 2 goalies, arguably the 2 best goalies in the NHL, I would throw caution to the wind. I'm a sick SOB. Give me the no goals in the first 10 minutes for +1.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just
I think this is going to be a tight checking game. We saw the Rangers score 6 goals in Game 1. They're not scoring 6 tonight. Yeah. That's not happening. This is going to be a 3-2, 2-1 game. Again, the under for the full game is probably the right play. I just don't have the stones because I don't know how the goalies – when they pull them and if it's a tight game. I don't want to mess with that. I would rather just bet the under in the first period when I know the goalies are going to be in net. I'm 100% confident in that. First period under in the playoffs, the Rangers are 5-10. So that means they're 10-5 to the over. And the Lightning are 7-4-1. So the Lightning have been more of a lower scoring team in the first period. Rangers more of a higher scoring team. I'll probably put like a quarter unit or a half a unit on the no goal first 10. Just for fun, but I will get to my real play on this game in just a moment. Now it's the most exciting time of the show. We're going to talk about Premier League Lacrosse. Premier Lacrosse League. I need to make sure I get that right. The Premier
PLL.
Lacrosse League. PLL. It starts this weekend. I'll be honest, I didn't really know you could bet on lacrosse until very recently. But you can. You can not only bet on it on multiple books here in the States. DraftKings, Caesars, Bet365 will all have odds out soon. And us, the Pickswise family of sports betting degenerates, will have a full – we already have it. I was on it yesterday. A full lacrosse landing page with the games and the stats and all the other crap. And, of course, Prop Holiday comes on the show day one and has a lacrosse prop for us. So, please – inform the people about Premier Lacrosse League.
I have never played lacrosse in my life, so I have to preface everything I'm about to say with that. It was far too rich for my blood growing up. But if you can bet on it, I can find a player prop on it, and I am on Miles Jones of the Redwoods over 3.5 points. It's -105, almost even money on DraftKings. Love anything that's close to even money. So last season, he was second in the league in points to a gentleman named Grant Ahmet, arguably the best player in lacrosse. Starts this season on the PUP list. So he had 32 points last season, Miles Jones. He was second in the league in assists. And for those who don't know, goals and assists count as points in this. So Any assist is good. Any goal is also good. There are 1-point goals. There are 2-point goals. Miles Jones averaged 3.5 points per game last season, and he hit this line in 5 of 9. He also hit it against the Atlas, who he is playing in week 1. So we have some familiarity. He's already done it against this team. He averages about 4 shots per game, and he averages 2 assists per game. So we're banking on the 2 points right here. Can he get at least a 2-point shot or 2 1-point shots? I also like picking this game. It has the highest over-under total at 24.5 points of any of the other games. So I like this guy. I was doing some research on him. 6'5", 220, Duke Lacrosse, which is the Alabama of lacrosse, if we want to get it out to our audience. But Miles Jones over 3.5 points at -105. I got this on DraftKings. I think this. I call him a kid because I'm in my 30s now. I think this kid could be the best. Could be the best player in Premier League lacrosse if Grant Emmett stays on the PUP list long enough. So Miles Jones over 3.5 points at -105. If I have a niche in this, if I can start, if I could be the Premier League lacrosse handicapper, it would be one of my biggest accomplishments in life. But it will start week 1 with Miles Jones.
The Premier Lacrosse League handicapper, prop holiday. Premier. Double premier. By the way, Pickswise does have a pick on the Whip Snakes Chaos game. Whip Snakes. By the way, the names of these teams are awesome.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to take it seriously. I apologize.
The Whip Snakes. No, they're great names.
Whip Snakes. They are.
And
great
the Chaos. It's chaos. Whip Snakes laying 1 and a hook. Listen, I'd be lying to you if I said I have ever watched a Premier Lacrosse League game for. But I'm going to watch one this year. And
it's on ESPN. ESPN bought the rights to it.
100%. And I saw the lineup. They've got an all-star lineup. They got Jay Alter, a friend of mine who used to call games together at Columbia. Paul Carcaterra does a really great job with the college football. I think I saw Anish Sharaff was on there too. I mean, they've got Chris Cotter. I mean, these are big-time ESPN guys that are calling the Premier Lacrosse League. So PLL, ESPN, I'll be watching some games this year, and I promise you, Pickswise Nation, at one point, baseball season is long. I can't bet baseball every day. There will be a day where I give you a POD in lacrosse. Maybe it'll happen next week. Maybe it'll happen in a month. I don't know. But we'll keep an eye on the PLL this season. Whip Snakes laying 1.5, and also the under 24.5 goals in the Redwoods Atlas game. Those are the Pickswise plays for this week. And yeah, exciting stuff. All right, play the daytime. 3-star bets. I teased this off the top of the show. We have multiple 3-star bets in baseball today. Keith Schmelter, who did an incredible job last year, fresh off of college graduation. He's got to play on the Red Sox athletics game. Wise guy, he's got to play on the Guardians-Orioles game. We also have a newcomer to the site, Steve Davies, who is a soccer handicapper, is giving us a total bet in the Mexico-Ecuador match. And then Josh Wagner has a play on the Lightning Rangers, which I'm going to echo in just a moment. Are you a soccer guy, Bobby? You in the footy at all?
If I can, if the bar opens the taps early enough, as we discussed, I will watch soccer. Oh, and World Cup, obviously.
Gotta love the World Cup. All right, let's get into your play of the day. You mentioned it a little earlier during our hockey segment, but reiterate why you think Ryan Strome is going to find himself on the score sheet tonight.
My first play of the day for Pickswise is exciting. I am going to go with Strome. I do love the value at +104. If you look at Panarin, if you look at Kreider, if you look at Zibanejad, their odds are completely nuked for him to get a point. But a second-line center who has done this, 9 out of 14 games, what are we talking about, 63% of the time, something like that. Give me Strome at +104 to notch a point. It's probably going to be an assist. But he did have 3 shots on goal in game 1, so he is active in this game. Just for anyone who hasn't capped NHL, a point is an assist or a goal. So getting shots on goal, being involved, being thrown into more offensive zone possessions than he is defensive zone. Positive Corsi forward. How many positive events are happening when you're on the ice? A lot happen when Strome is on the ice. Let me get him getting a point at a little bit over even money.
Love the Corsi stats. Again, those are stats that the average hockey bettor does not look at and is not aware of. So I love using those in handicaps. Those are great. Listen, this is an easy pick for me tonight. The Lightning are 17-0 in the last 3 postseasons after a loss. If tonight is the night that trend does not continue, I tip my cap to the Rangers because nobody had them going up 2-0 in this series. Good point in the chat. Rangers plus money at home. And that usually is how I feel about Igor Shesterkin. But I think the Lightning at a short price in this spot, this situation, this narrative, this trend, I have to bet it. Whether it's a good bet or not, my guess is you will probably see this price go higher throughout the day. I got in at minus 125 over at the Westgate. I'm looking at it right now as we speak at 10:53 in the morning, local time Eastern. It is minus 128. That's a good price. I think anything under minus 130 is a fair price for the Lightning to win tonight on the road in Game 2 and even this series at 1. I don't care about the stats, the analytics, Corsi, Morsi, Forsey, Dorsey, Nerfy, Yerfy. This is a put up or shut up game for the Lightning, and they have put up in this spot 17 consecutive times. And I'm hoping they make it 18 tonight, even though at heart I'm a Rangers fan. In my head,
they better get out early. They better get out to an early lead because the Garden's going to be rocking. This is the only thing New York sports fans have had to hang their hat on for the last 10 years. And we're not counting the Brooklyn Nets. So if they do not get out to an early lead, if they get down early, it is going to be hectic. I know the Nets haven't won anything, but I mean,
Nets haven't won anything. At least the Raiders have been in the Cup final in the last decade. So I agree. New York needs this, and the Rangers, as a Rangers fan my whole life, my inner child right now is very mad at me. But I only bleed one color, and that's green. And when I see a trend that runs this deep, I have to bet it. And again, if it loses, we tip our cap, and we probably bet the Lightning in Game 3. But we tip our cap, and we move on because 17-0, I can't buck that trend. Bobby, great job today, bud. Parting thoughts for your first full show here with Pickswise?
I love it, man. Thank you guys for having me on. You let me do my player prop thing, and I'm hoping I get invited back for more. I'm gonna track these props, end up in the positive.
Track everything.
And Celtics in 6. Those are my closing words. Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6. You heard it from the prop holiday himself. We appreciate you hopping on with us today. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, all of those fun things. Head to Pickswise.com. Check out the 3-star plays. We just gave them to you a few minutes ago. And, of course, have a nice weekend. I'll have some golf live bets probably today, tomorrow, Sunday, so keep an eye on that. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And until next time, let's bet it.